Hello and welcome to another Ginger Mathematician video. Today we're going to go through all things iGCSE Algebraic fractions. One of the more difficult topics on the 0580 and 0607 course. If you're aiming for that A and A star, then this is the video for you. So let's get started on question 1 here, where we need to simplify the following expression. Now the first thing that I notice here is notice there is a common factor of x in the numerator. So when I'm copying this across, I'm going to take a factor of x out here, and then I'm going to work backwards. So what do I multiply x by to get 5x? A 5. What do I multiply an x by to get minus x squared? That's going to be a minus x. Now, usually in these algebraic fraction questions, there will be a factor that looks like this in the denominator, so I can cancel through. So that's kind of my little cheat method here. I'm looking out for a 5 minus x down below. Now, if we take the 25 minus x squared, this is a very special form of factorizing, known as dots, D-O-T-S, the difference of two squares. Difference because we have a negative here, and squares because we have a square number here and a square number here. Now, this is a special number, 25. If we find the square root of 25, that is equal to 5. And of course, the square root of x squared will then just be x. So I'm going to use these here, and I can write this now in a special factorized form. Taking these numbers, 5 and x, I write here a 5 minus x and a 5 plus x. Now, if I'm not sure that that's actually going to work, one thing I can do here is expand my brackets to check if it's correct. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times x is plus 5x. Minus x times 5 is minus 5x. Minus x times plus x is plus x squared. And you may be thinking here, well, that's not the same as denominator. It's quite different. Notice there's a cancellation. We have a plus 5x here and minus 5x here. That then gives us cancels. This should be a minus, by the way. Well spotted if you notice that, because minus x times plus x is minus x squared. Notice that leaves us with 25 minus x squared. So we do get the denominator. Now, why do we actually factorize these things in the first place? Well, notice we have a 5 minus x in the numerator, 5 minus x in the denominator. We can cancel those out, giving us x over 5 plus x as our final answer. I can pop that in here. Now, if you're finding this quite tricky at this point, don't worry, we're going to do a ton of different examples so you're up to speed on this tricky topic. There's the mark scheme and where you pick up the method marks over here. And on to question 2. In this case, we need to write as a single fraction in its simplest form. So the first thing to notice here, we have different denominators. We have an x minus 5 and we have a 2x. So one way to make one fraction here is to multiply the two denominators together. So if we do that, we just get x minus 5 times 2x. Notice in algebra, if we're multiplying, we just put the two things next to each other. Now, how do we work out what goes in the numerator? We essentially do an idea of cross multiply. So we do a 2x times 3 here and an x minus 5 times minus 7. Notice sometimes it's called the butterfly method. Okay, this idea of multiplying crossways to work out what goes in the numerator. So we have a 3 times 2x, that gives us 6x, and then we have a minus 7, be very careful, there's a minus here, times x minus 5. Once we've got this, we just now need to tidy it up. So how do we do this? We keep the denominator the same. I'm just going to switch this over, it looks a bit more neat. So 2x brackets x minus 5. And at this point, we have 6x, we'll leave alone for the time being. We have a single bracket, which we multiply using the hook. That's what I like to call it here. So we get minus 7 times x is minus 7x. Minus 7 times minus 5. Be careful here. That's equal to plus 35. And now if we simplify this, we get 6x minus 7x. So I have 6 bananas, and then 7 bananas disappear, minus 1 banana. And then we have plus 35 over 2x brackets x minus 5. Notice I didn't expand at the bottom here. You could and would still get all the marks, but I prefer to leave it in this factorized form because it is its simplest form essentially, and leave it like this to get me all 3 marks. Again, notice in the mark scheme, you can also put it the other way round. Again, this is maybe a little bit more tidy. Notice minus x plus 35 is exactly the same thing. On to question 3 here. So again, we want to simplify. We're going to go through a very similar method to what we did in question 1. I look at the top of my fraction and go, what do they have in common? So notice there's an x in common. And then let's look at the numbers. So what number goes into 4 and 16? That's going to be 4. And now we work backwards. So what do I multiply 4x by to get 4x squared? That's going to be equal to x. What do I multiply 4x by to get minus 16x? It's going to be minus 4. And just like in the previous question, number 1, I'm expecting an x minus 4 in the denominator because we need to have some cancellation going on. Now notice we have another difference of 2 squares here with x squared minus 16, because remember the square root of 16, so something times something gives you 16, and it's the same. What is it? That's 4, and the square root of x squared is just x. So we can factorize it in that very, very special form that we've seen before, where we have an x minus 4 and an x plus 4. We achieve what we're looking for here. Notice we have an x minus 4 above and below. We can cancel those out, giving us 4x over x plus 4. And that is our final answer for a whopping 3 marks just for that fairly short process. There's the mark scheme here, and you can see where you pick up the method marks. On to question 4 here. This is slightly different. Again, lots of marks available here, 5 marks, and we need to solve the equation now. However, we do start it out like we did with question 2. So in question 2, we found a common denominator, and the best way of doing that is just multiplying the 2 denominators together. So I can just write them next to each other, x plus 1 times x plus 9. The way that we work out the numerator, we do this cross-multiplying method here. So that gives us 1 times x plus 9 is just x plus 9. 9 times x plus 1, okay, 9 lots of x plus 1. And that's equal to 1 here. Let's tidy up that numerator. So if we look at the numerator here, we still got the x plus 9. Let me pop in the bottom bit here. So we have x plus 9, and then we have 9 times x is 9x. 9 times 1, that's equal to 9, and this is equal to 1. So we've kind of done the method in question 2. That's about 2 or 3 marks worth. Now we actually have to solve this thing. Now, first thing is, I do not like fractions here. This fraction is irritating me. So what's the opposite of dividing by x plus 1 times x plus 9? Let's multiply by x plus 1, x plus 9 on both sides. Quite hard to write all this out. This cancels, giving us the numerator. We can simplify that at the same time. So we get 9x plus x, that's equal to 10x. 9 plus 9 is equal to 18. And this is equal to 1 times this. So it's just going to be x plus 1 times x plus 9. We've still got work to do here. So first of all, we need to expand out the bracket. So remember, our first, outside, inside, last, or I prefer to call it the double hook. Give it a big double hook. So if we work out the right hand side here, we have x times x is x squared, x times 9, 9x. 1 times x is just x, and 1 times 9 is 9. We are making progress, I assure you. So let's continue this up here. So I'm going to tidy up the right-hand side. So that's x squared plus 10x plus 9 is equal to 10x plus 18. Notice I've also switched the sides, but that's absolutely fine because we have an equal sign in the middle, so I can swap the sides. That isn't a problem. Now let's get rid of the 10x. So the opposite of adding 10x is minusing 10x from both sides. Get a nice massive cancellation here. So this and this disappear, giving us x squared plus 9. This cancels with this, giving us 18. We're almost there. Keep with it. So we've got an add 9 here. So the opposite of that is minus 9. So this cancels, leaving us x squared. 18 minus 9 is equal to 9. And then final step here, we're almost there. What's the opposite of squaring something? We're going to square root on both sides. That leaves us with x on its own, the square root of 9. This is where we have to be very, very, very careful. Notice there are two answers it's looking for. So it's not just 3, but it can also be minus 3 as well. Why is that the case? Well, minus 3 times minus 3. Minus times a minus is a plus, and 3 times 3 is 9. So whenever we're square rooting, there are two possible answers to consider. So our very final answer here is x is equal to 3 and x is equal to minus 3, like so. Again, you can have a look through the mark scheme and see where you pick up all these method marks. And if this video has been really, really helpful to you so far, then do think about liking and subscribing. That's the best way to keep up with all the different iGCSE content that is coming out. On to question 5. Again, we're looking to factorize this as much as possible. Now, notice the top here. This isn't a nice factorization, so we're going to come back to this. It's got 3 different terms, but we have done things like the bottom before, the 3x squared minus 12x. We look for the common factor of 3x squared minus 12x. Well, they both have an x, and they both have a 3 that goes into both of these numbers. So I pop a 3x outside, and then we work backwards, just like we've done in previous questions. So what do you multiply 3x by to get 3x squared? Just an x. What do you multiply 3x by to get minus 12x? That's going to be minus 4. Now, just like in previous questions, I'm expecting to see a x minus 4 in the numerator so that we can cancel that out. That's going to help us here with our factorization. So it's a little bit of a cheap method, but works very nicely for iGCSE questions. So first of all, if I want to put this into 2 brackets, first of all, I set up my 2 brackets. I know the 2x squared. The only way I can generate that is by putting a 2x and an x in here. It's the only way 2 things will multiply here to get 2x squared. I'm expecting x minus 4 here. So I'm going to pop that in. Even though I could have made a mistake with the denominator, I'm going to look for that x minus 4 to be there. Then we need a number that multiplies to give us minus 12. So what do I multiply minus 4 by to get minus 12? Well, positive 3. So I'm claiming that the factorization here is as follows. What would I do in the exam to check this? Again, I would use my double hook to work out this. If I go through that process quickly here, just to show you it does work, we do get this, and then minus 8x plus 3x is minus 5x. Yes, we do get what we want in the numerator. Notice a nice little time-saving measure for you. Now, because we have the x minus 4 above and below, we can cancel that out, leaving us with 2x plus 3 over 3x, which is then our final answer, which we can pop in there like so. Okay, so you can have a look through the mark scheme, again see the different techniques I've been using to get to that answer. Okay, number 6 here, a very tricky question as you can see by the bottom. So a whopping 5 marks for this, and definitely if you're aiming for A stars, this is the kind of question you need to be getting right. Now notice the bottom or the top doesn't look very friendly. I'm going to start here with the bottom to see if we can factorize that. Now it's in a very special form here. This is in what's called a split the term form, which they will test you on both 0580 and 0607. And the way I approach these questions, minus 2bx minus 6b, I'm going to split this down the middle. So I'm going to put a line down the middle, and I'm going to factorize both into single brackets. Right, what does that actually mean? So we have an a here and here. So we're going to take a factor of a out. What do I multiply a by to get x, or ax, just x? What do I multiply a by to get plus 3a plus 3? I'm going to do a very similar process on this side as well. Well, we have a b in common, and we also have a minus 2 in common in both of these terms. So I'm going to take a minus 2b out here, open my bracket. What do I multiply minus 2b by to get minus 2bx? Well, just an x. And this is where we have to be very careful. What do we multiply minus 2b to get minus 6b? And that's going to be a plus 3, because 3 times minus 2 gives us minus 6. Now notice we've got a shared factor, x plus 3 and x plus 3. So now some magic is going to happen. We can take the x plus 3 as a factor. Anything left over, so a and the minus 2b, go in our second bracket. So a minus 2b, like so. Again, if we're not sure that's the right answer, we can use the double hook to expand and check that it is correct. So we've done the bottom part here. We've got an x plus 3 and an a minus 2b. Now, because we have x's in the top here, again, I'm expecting an x plus 3 in the numerator. Otherwise, we simply can't simplify this. So, if we take this expression, 2x squared plus x minus 15, I know there's going to be an x plus 3. I know there has to be a 2x to give us 2x squared. And what do I multiply 3 by to get minus 15? Well, that has to be a minus 5. Again, I could check all of this by expanding out and seeing if I do get what I expect. So we have 2x minus 5 over x plus 3. We can cancel through like we've done before and get 2x minus 5 over a minus 2b. And that is our final answer for a whopping, absolutely whopping 5 marks here. Okay, so you can check through your solution and see that we get to this answer here. And question 7, slightly on the easier side, definitely going towards A and B level, is we want to write this as a single fraction. Again, just like the method before, we have two different denominators. We just multiply those together. So 2 brackets x plus 1. And now we work out the numerator by cross multiplying. So we have x times x plus 1, 2 times minus 2x plus 4. So we get x brackets x plus 1. Okay, minus, so we have to be careful, minus 2 lots 2x plus 4. And now it's a case of just simplifying through here. So x times x is x squared. 1 times x is just x. Minus 2 times 2x is minus 4x. Minus 2 times plus 4 is minus 8. Bottom staying the same here. And now we just do a little bit of collecting up here. So we have x squared, that stays by itself. X minus 4x is minus 3x minus 8 over 2 brackets x plus 1. Now we should probably consider whether the top actually factorizes. Again, it's a 3-mark question. I'd expect if it did factorise, it'd be more like a 4-mark question. But notice there is no way we can put this in brackets with 4 and 2 or 1 and 8 that gives us a -3 out of it. So there's the answers for you. Again, both of these versions, I took this one rather than this, also work. Our next question, again, very similar to what we've done here. We've got our 2 different denominators. We pop those together. And then we do our butterfly approach. This times this times this. So 1 lots of 3x minus 1 is 3x minus 1 minus 2 lots of x plus 2. And now it's just being very careful with the algebra. Well done if you got to this point of the video, by the way. And then we multiply out this bracket, so minus 2x minus 4. And so if we simplify this, 3x minus 2x is just x, minus 1 minus 4 is minus 5, and the bottom we can leave in factorised form, giving us our final answer of x minus 5, x plus 2, 3x minus 1 for 3 marks. Okay, so there's the answer for you, and again, have a look through. Now, question 9 here. Again, we need to simplify x cubed plus 5x squared over x squared minus 25, giving your answer as a single fraction. Okay, so first of all, we have our difference of 2 squares on the bottom here. Again, notice x squared to square root it gives us x, square root 25 gives us 5. So we can write this in this special form of x minus 5, x plus 5. Now I'm expecting one of these to be in the numerator, so keep that in mind here. And notice with this one, with this cubic, we don't learn anything about cubics really on this course, but there is a common factor of x. So I'm going to take out an x here, but actually there's more than just an x. We've actually got an x squared in both, because x cubed is just x times x times x, x squared is x times x. So actually we can take a whole x squared out here, then work backwards. What do we multiply x squared by to get x cubed? Just an x. What do we multiply x squared by to get 5x squared? Plus 5. And lo and behold, we have a common factor above and below. We cross it through. It's always so satisfying when you do that. And that gives you x squared over x minus 5, which we can pop in to our final answer here. So, have a look through. Again, you can see the method marks here. And if you now feel comfortable with algebraic fractions, but you want to practice some of those other algebra skills, like solving quadratics, for example, or maybe working with that splitting the term, for example, it's slightly confusing. Check out the video right in front of you, because I spend a lot of time going through those fundamental algebra skills you need to get those high grades.